Study guide page 5. So now we start our long division, and we're going to have practice with long division and synthetic division. So let's do our long division first. So first thing we need to notice, we have x to the third, x to the squared, but we don't have x. So when we go to do this, we need to make sure that we fill that missing piece in. So when we write this out, this is going to be 2x cubed minus 9x squared plus 0x plus 15. And we're going to divide it by 2x minus 5. Okay, now to do these, we always look at this term here, and we compare it to this term here, and you kind of have to ask yourself, what do I need to multiply this by to get to here? So to get from 2x to 2x cubed, we have to multiply by x squared. So now this x squared, multiply it there, that's 2x cubed. And then this x squared times negative 5, it's negative 5x squared. And when we do this step, we need to make sure that we're subtracting all of this. Okay, and one quick hint, you always want to make sure that these and these always match up, because if they're both positive and the same, this negative is going to make this one the opposite, so we're subtracting them and it'll zero out. So these two will zero out. Negative times this negative turns into positive, so this is really plus. So if we combine these, this is negative 4x squared. We got to bring down this 0x. And now, so same steps, we have to start asking ourselves, from 2x, how do we get to negative 4x squared? So from 2 to negative 4, we got to multiply by negative 2. And then from x to x squared, you got to multiply by x. So now this gets distributed to both of these as well. And I'm not going to keep drawing those lines. It's going to get too messy. But negative 2x times 2x gives us that negative 4x squared. And then negative 2x times negative 5 gives us a positive 10x. And we're subtracting all of these. So keep in mind that this also gets distributed to these two. But again, I'm not going to write it because it gets pretty messy. But these cancel. This is 0x minus 10x. So that gives us a negative 10x. And finally, we're going to bring down this 15. And it's a positive 15, so plus 15. And now we ask ourselves, how many times does 2x goes into negative 10x? And that is negative 5 times. So if we multiply negative 5, that's negative 10x. And then negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. We're subtracting these. So negative 10x minus negative 10x cancels. 15 minus positive 25 gives us a negative 10. So our remainder is negative 10. So final answer, we look at what we have up here. It was x squared minus 2x minus 5 with a remainder of negative 10. Or we can write it x squared minus 2x minus 5 negative 10 over what we divided by, 2x minus 5. And that's acceptable as well. Now on the right hand side, synthetic division. So let's look at our x's. We got 4, we're missing 3. We got 2, we're missing 1. And then we got 0. So we got to plug in 2 zeros here. So synthetic division, set this equal to 1. So x is going to equal negative 1. So we need to have that negative 1 out on the outside. And we have to start putting in our numbers. So leading is 3. X cubed we're missing, so we put in a 0. For x squared, the coefficient is -2. X we're missing, we got to put a 0, and then last we have 4. Okay. Now we do our synthetic division. We bring the 3 down first, bring the 3 down, and then we multiply this -3, or it's this -1 times 3. Got to multiply that. That gives us a -3, and it goes in here. Now we add these together. -3 plus 0 is -3. And then we do the same thing. Come back, multiply this. -1 times -3 is +3. Combine these, add these together. That's 1. 1 times -1 is -1. 0 plus -1 is -1. And then -1 times -1 is a +1, so 5. Okay, now we go back to our original over here, and we see that we started with x to the 4th power. So this is going to be x to the 3rd. We always start with 1 less, then x squared, then x, then no x, and then this here is our remainder. So when we go to write our answer, 3x cubed minus 3x squared plus x minus 1, and then remainder of 5. Now our last section of this study guide, we want to factor the following given the factor provided, then make a sketch based on the factored form. So first thing, if we know that x plus 4 is a factor, then we can use synthetic division here. So if our factor is x plus 4, so we're going to put -4 out here. And then we're going to start putting our coefficients down. And for this one here, we have 3, 2, 1, and then 0. So we're not missing any terms. So we just put the coefficients down. That's 1, 5, -8, and -48. So now let's start our synthetic division. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to bring down this 1. -4 times 1 is -4. 5 plus -4 is 1. 1 times -4 is -4. -8 plus -4 is -12. And then -4 times -12 is a +48, so we don't have a remainder here. So now we know that we started with x cubed, so here we start with x squared, then x, and then -12, so minus 12. So when we have this, we'll have x squared plus x minus 12, and this was divided by x plus 4. And so now if we take a look at this here in the parenthesis, that's x squared. It's a quadratic, which means it can be factored. If the leading coefficient is 1, that means we can go straight to doing our diamond. What multiplies up to -12 and adds to 1. We're looking for 4 and -3. 4 times -3 is -12. 4 minus 3 is 1. So now I'm going to carry this term over first. So I have my x plus 4. And now I'm going to write my new terms, well, my factored terms in for the second parenthesis. I have 4 and -3, so I have x plus 4 and x minus 3. So now when we go to write our zeros, because you want to ultimately sketch this, we have our zeros are x equals -4, right? We have this here, and we have this one here as well, that where x is going to equal -4. So we have x minus, x equals -4 with the multiplicity of 2, right? Because it happened twice, here and here. And then we have x equals 3. So now we can plot these points in graph. So we have x equals -4, I'm going to say that's there. And x equals 3 right there. See, I know my y-intercept is going to be, if I put in a 0, I'm going to get negative 48. So I know my y-intercept is going to be somewhere here. And again, that's just to make your graph more accurate. So when I'm looking at my leading coefficient, because I want to start drawing this, I want to start graphing it, it's x cubed, so my endpoints are going to go separate ways, which means it's going to be going this way, and this side is going to be going this way. So we're bouncing from x equals negative 4 because we have a multiplicity of 2. So we bounce, we go down to the y-intercept, and we go through x equals 3 because that doesn't have a multiplicity. And our last question, so same thing, if we know that x plus 2 is a factor, we're going to be doing synthetic division with a negative 2 up here. If we look at our terms, we got x to the 4th, x to the 3, x to the 2nd, x. So everything here is in standard form. We're not missing any terms. So writing our coefficients, we have a negative 1, we have a negative 5, a negative 2, a 8, and then a 0. Okay, and now let's do our synthetic division. I'm going to bring down the negative 1. Let's do it in a different color. I'm going to bring down the negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 gives me a positive 2. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. Negative 2 plus 6 is a 4. 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. So that's 0. And then 0. So from there on, we don't have any more terms. So now writing this out, remember we started with x to the 4th power, so we have to start with x to the 3rd. So here's my x to the 3rd, x squared, and then my x. So here are my factors so far. I have x plus 2, that's what we use for the synthetic division. When we did synthetic division, we got negative x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x. Okay, so now there's more factoring that we can do. Notice how this has an x, this has an x, and this has an x. So we can at least factor out an x out of all these. So we'll have to, so I'm going to bring down that x plus 2. And out of here, we're going to have to factor out an x. And I'll write this here in red. And here in black, we're going to write what's left over. We'll have negative x squared minus 3x plus 4. Okay, so inside the parentheses, inside the parentheses we have an x squared, which means that we can factor this one way or another. Let's see. So my a is not 1. My a right now is negative 1, so I still have to use that rule and multiply. Even though it's a 1, it's a negative 1, so we still have to multiply this. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. So I'm going to do the math over here to the side. So this will give me x squared minus 3x minus 4. So I do my diamond. What multiplies up to negative 4 and adds to negative 3. It's going to be negative 4 and 1. So this breaks down into x plus 4 and x minus 1. Oh, sorry, did that backwards. Let's going to be x minus 4 times x plus 1. So now when we go to write our factors, so remember that we had these two here. We had x squared, x plus 2, and then we have that x there. So I'm going to bring that over right now. So we have x plus 2. I'm sorry, this is getting a little messy. Times x minus 4 times x plus 1. I almost forgot to do one step here. Yeah, just noticed it. Remember that we multiplied by the negative 1, so we have to divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, which would flip those signs. So this would be x plus 4, and then inside, well, the right one would be, if I can erase this, let's see. X minus 1. Okay. So now we look at all our zeros. So for this one here, our 0 is going to be x equals negative 2. For this one here, it's going to be x equals 0. For this one here, x equals negative 4. And finally, x equals 1. So we have a lot of x-intercepts here. And we have to start plugging them in. Here's negative 2. Here's negative 4. Here's 0. And there's 1. There's 1. So I need to look at my end behavior of x to the 4th power. And it's a negative x to the 4th power. So I know my ends are going to be going down and down. And see, I have no multiplicity, which means I'm going through everything. So no bounces. And there you have it.